on my way up to Plaza San Nicolai to shoot the sunset and the Alhambra. It's a beautiful place up there. I'm walking through the narrow streets of the Albayzin up to Plaza San Nicolai. That's the place up there where I am heading. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I was up here yesterday. At sunset, the place gets crowded like hell. Everybody is trying to get the Alhambra, and it was just crazy. I had to fight for my place. Everybody bumped into my tripod, and they took pictures over my shoulders. And on these crowded places, you have to deal with that. But you get rewarded with an absolutely fantastic look at the Alhambra. There are a few very famous spots where you can shoot the Alhambra. For example, the one at Plaza San Nicolai, where you have the Sierra Nevada behind you. And now I'm on my way to find my own spot. I did not find my spot yet. I wish I could go up to one of those private terraces. Maybe that would help. I'm wandering around for about an hour now in the Albayzin. Didn't find my own spot, and I'm visionary, seeing my eyes, but I don't give up. I have a few miles to go. I finally find my spot. It's in a restaurant. How practical is that? At my setup, 6D, iPhone and GoPro. iPhone and GoPro are going taking a time lapse. And with the 6D I'm shooting panorama with my tilt shift, 24mm. Beautiful light. Wow, that was some spectacular sunset. Behind me you can see the Alhambra, one of the most visited monuments in Europe. Over 3 million people visit this wonderful architecture. Behind me, Granada. Light came on. I'm parking up. I'm up here on a private terrace overlooking the valley and the Alhambra behind me. The lights of the Alhambra just came on, and I have to wait until it balances with the light that is left over from the day. Probably you can't see it now on the video, but the light is coming up and will be increased. I'm done with shooting here, packing up, going home and check the files. Let's see how they turned out. See you there. I have selected a few files. Here, Alhambra Sunset 1, it's 22 files. I've selected from left to right. You have 3 files for the left side, then you have 6 files for the right side and another 6 files for the middle part. I have also selected 1 frame later in the evening as the Alhambra was enlightened, and I have also 6 frames left, middle, right later in the day for the city lights. By merging those files together, I have a left frame, a middle frame and a right frame with my tilt shift to do the panorama, and then I stitch them together. I select the left 3 frames and merge them together as a HDR. Here is my window. I get a preview. I check these boxes and I let her run. When I get the file, I mark it with 1 star. I don't do any adjustments right now. Let's go to the middle, no, to the right part, select these, merge them together as HDR. As soon as I have it, I mark it with 1 star as well. And now to my middle part, select the 6 files, merge it as HDR, mark this with 1 star as well. Now I select my 1 star images and stitch them together as a panorama. Here I choose perspective and merge them together. Now I select that stitch panorama file and mark it with 2 points. Have a look at the file. The Lightroom made a beautiful job controlling the highlights. Nothing is burned out here. But overall, the image is quite dull, dark, and the Alhambra is not very dominant here. But I like the composition, the Alhambra, the leading line of the valley down to the city, and the sunset, and a bit of a foreground here. But I have to crop that anyway. Let's jump back and see what we can do instead. Here I have the file with only the Alhambra. Well, I will prepare this file now to bring it into Photoshop. First of all, I need a bit of clarity and lots of dynamic. I open up the lights and just a little bit of the shadows. No went too far. These are the 2 files. Open them up in Photoshop as layers. I'm in Photoshop now. Here is the file with the Alhambra, and that's my HDR file. I want to have this file on top, and I have to adjust this now. I go with the blending mode difference and bring those together, go in nice and close and bring them together as good as possible. That's about good here. Going back to normal. So I only want the light from the Alhambra. So I have a mask here. I invert that, fill it with black. I have a brush, go in again, and I slowly paint in the parts from the Alhambra that I want. And immediately I see that the colors obviously won't match here in the trees, but I actually like the darker file a bit more, so I will include that. Check my work here, happy with the file. and I'm gonna save this, go back to Lightroom. In Lightroom I mark this file now with 2 stars, so I keep everything organized here. Now I want to check whether I can improve the image with the city lights. Here I have some city lights earlier in the day and some later. I select my files that I want to work on, going to Photoshop, open it up as layers. Here I have my city lights on top. Just make sure they match. That's good. And now going back to normal. And I'm only after the city lights, they are the brightest parts of the image. I go to this blending mode and bring in the city lights, but obviously some lights I don't want, so I have a mask and brush the unwanted parts away. And now I just can slowly paint away the stuff I don't want. Save that, close that, going back to Lightroom and mark this with a 3 star. Now I have my 3 star images here, and I open them up as layers in Photoshop to stitch them together as a panorama. First of all, I like to get my files organized. This is my left frame, this is my right frame, and then I get my middle frame. Then I need also a wider picture here, going to 12,000 pixels wide. Well, then we have to move over this frame here. And then with a mask and a brush, I paint away the unwanted parts. I even go too far here. To see where the transition happens, because my middle frame is the best quality, and on the left frame I have some lens flare issues, so I use the left part as minimal as possible, and I blend in now this left part, and immediately I can see it doesn't fit perfectly. And to get rid of that, I go for a gradation curve, and I have a clipping mask. And I just darken the left side until the sky matches. Let's check that. That works well. To refine the stitch here, I can go back and with a bigger brush I can make a more smooth transition here. So that's my image, and before I go on, I put that in a folder and call it my blend stitch. I'm going to crop the image here in Photoshop with the empty paper. But first of all, I work on my image to balance the exposure. I think the sky is too light, so I go in and look only at the sky, like it about here. Maybe open up the shadows a bit more. That's about right for the sky. To blend that together, I need a proper mask. I go to color here. I go for a tolerance about 40. Now this part is too light for my taste. Going in with the gradation again. And now I'm looking only at the lower part. Darken it, invert it with black and paint in the parts that I want to have darkened. Now I get a much more balanced image with a darker sky and darker background. When I'm happy with that, I merge this together to get a new merge down file, and I use a Nik collection filter, Color Efex Pro. What I like is the dynamic contrast, and I go about 50 here. That's my Pro contrast from Nik. And immediately you can see how this gets to life. I don't want it in the sky, so I brush away this part here. I don't want it too much down here. Now I have to clean up a few spots. I have an empty layer and want to check my sky here with the clone stamp. I have to check the sky because usually I have a few dust spots to correct. And my final step, I merge them down as a layer and go to sharpen it with a high pass filter. Usually I go between 2 and 3. I try number 3 here and change the blending mode. I don't want the sharpening sky, so I have a mask here, a brush, make it bigger, and brush away the parts that I don't want in full sharpness. Save that and going back to Lightroom. In Lightroom I mark this with a 4. Not that I think it's a 4-star image, but just to get everything organized. And now I do the cropping. I like to do the cropping here in Lightroom so I can go back and forth without anything. Question is how much foreground I want to include here. I think it's about that, and the sky is not too dramatic, so more looking for proportions here. And I would love to have the sun on my 3rd, but never mind, I think it's a good balance between the Alhambra and the sunset, so I keep a middle horizontal line right on the horizon. Check my work here. This is my final image. Here again, the second shoot from the Alhambra. I found that restaurant. I bracketed all the time through sunset into the night. And here in Lightroom you can see I have 60 files selected. With my process, I have 5 frames on the left, 5 in the middle and 5 right. So one big stitch would make out of 15 frames. So in those 60 frames are 4 pictures hidden. And I start with putting them together in HDR, merging the 5 frames to one and see what I get. Now I have HDR'd all those 5 frames and I'm gonna stitch them together as a panorama. I have my 3 here, put them together in the panorama, go for perspective, and I will speed up the process so you don't get bored. Now I have HDR'd all my files and stitched them together as a panorama. I marked my panoramas with 2 stars and here they are. And I want to see them together. So now the analysis of the pictures. What I like on the left frame is the natural light, the sky, the Sierra Nevada here in the background, but the castle is a bit light, a bit dull. And here, not a big improvement with the castle. Overall, a flat image. On the left here, the light kicked in, the artificial light, and here even more. I think I stay with the top left image. I duplicate the layer, go to Nik Collection Color FX Pro and try my Pro Contrast filter that I like the most. Pro Contrast here, going something to the middle, maybe a bit higher this time. Check this out. I always can roll back the effect if I don't like it, but I have to say I like it quite a bit, even in the sky. I like that image a lot. Might darken the sky a bit. The gradation, only looking at the sky. Yeah, and a brush and paint away this area here. I actually like it a bit darker down here. What I try now is to bring out the Alhambra a bit more, to lighten this up a bit, and maybe even change the white balance a tiny little bit, invert this mask and just paint out part here. Then I merge it down here to sharpen the image with a high pass filter and copy this together. masking out the parts I don't like. That's without the high pass, and that's the high pass. Bit of a difference. I think this is a well balanced image now, and I'm happy to finish this off here. Save it, go back to Lightroom. Here I am. Call this a 3-star image now because it was in Photoshop, and just crop away this part that I don't like. Somewhere here. And I think this is my final image. I remember this very well, shooting it from the terrace with the beautiful Sierra Nevada in the background. It was snow up there, the Alhambra and the city. That's how I remember this scene, and I think it's represented quite well here. That was it. Thanks for watching, and see you another time. Bye.